Hey everybody, this is the Three Stooges review. This time we'll be talking about the 20th film that the Three Stooges made with Columbia Pictures.
And this is the first film of 1937.
Right, we're on to volume 2, first film of 1937. It's called Grunts and Groans.
Yeah.
It was directed by Preston Black. It was written, well, a screenplay credit goes to Clyde Bruckman, and a story credit goes to Cyril Kramer and Herman Boxer. Now these three are responsible for one of our favorite films so far called Whoops, I'm an Indian. But this time they failed to deliver the goods.
Yeah, actually, you know what? This is pretty dismal, and the scorecard goes as follows.
Slapstick comedy, we both gave it a 1. There is a lot of slapstick, you know, it's a typical Stooge episode, but it's really done really badly. I blame a lot of this on the editing, or perhaps the direction. It's not like this is Preston Black's first time directing the Stooges, and I'm pretty sure he's done some good episodes before. I'd have to look back and find out for sure, but the problem is this film is edited really badly.
Yeah.
Not that it's edited badly, there's a lot of footage being edited.
It's really, if you watch this one, you're going to notice a lot of strange editing, I guess.
Yeah. It's not that the editing is strange, it's that it had to be edited in the first place.
Yeah.
The dialogue, we gave it a 1.
Although there's the typical Stooge stuff going on as far as dialogue, gags, but as it doesn't work.
Well, it's poorly delivered and it's just not very funny. I mean, we didn't laugh.
I gave it an unintentional extra credit because there's some stand-ins for the Stooges when they have to do a stunt. These guys are just literally clowns from the circus. So I thought it was, I think it's ridiculously hilarious that, you know, you can pause it and just look at these guys. They're not the Stooges. Moe's 6 feet tall. But yeah, I gave it the unintentional for the stuntmen who are posing as the Stooges, who obviously are not the Stooges.
We both gave it a 2 for plot, which is not a terrible mark, because the plot actually has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Bottom line, Curly ends up standing in for a wrestler, posing as a wrestler, who is, well, that's the long and short of it, and they could have made a funny story out of that, but basically this whole film just doesn't work for me.
Right.
It's really not full of a lot of genuine laughs.
And nobody's really doing anything funny, honestly.
Yeah, it's really not very well written, is it?
No.
There isn't a lot of room for jokes. I think
That's
something
true.
else. Go ahead.
And well, here's the thing. Curly does this in another episode. I mean, he has to get in the ring with some guy and get beat up. And that's Punch Drunks, and it's a marvelous episode. I don't know why they couldn't have done the same sort of thing.
Curly also, the woo-woo-woo is completely overused in this episode and is almost always being done off camera. In other words,
well, it's
the
ADR.
film, yeah, it's ADR. The film is either sped up, and so there's, what do they call that? Looping? Or you know, the Curly doing the woo-woo-woo is put in afterwards.
Yeah.
Or it's not Curly, it's a stunt double, and the woo-woo-woo is put in afterwards. Or it's obvious that the sound is not live.
I think
and
technically
the woo-woo-woo is put in, and it's just completely overused.
Yeah. I hope we don't see this trend continue.
Yeah, I hope this is not a trend.
I think what's wrong with this Stooge film is that technically it's bad. Maybe they didn't have any time. Maybe but you know, because the story does get it too. So they could have worked it out.
It could have been good, but it's very poorly
just
done.
technical aspects.
Yeah, it's a poorly made film.
Right.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
The other part of the problem is, honestly, I mean, think about it. What's supposed to be so funny? Like, where are the jokes? I mean, is that part where they're running around the locker supposed to be funny?
No.
What is that?
No, that's... And it goes on too long.
Right. I mean, it's not funny. And anyway, the next category is the individuals. Oh no, the supporting cast. I gave the supporting cast a 2.
I gave them a 1.
They were adequate. I mean, they weren't so bad that they were awful. If this whole film came together better, I suppose that it would have been, you know,
but
they would have earned a 3. But
you know, sometimes the supporting cast makes a Stooge film what it is. This didn't have that. I mean, these guys couldn't even pick this up. Maybe, like I said, it's just technical problems.
Yeah, there was definitely some technical problems with this. We both gave the Stooges 1s. I don't feel that they really any of them stand out. I don't feel that they're bringing their A game. I don't feel like they've contributed anything to this film. I don't feel this film is very good, and I would hate to show this. I would hate to have a non-Stooge fan see this film and think that this is representatives of some of the Stooges' work. Because even though it is, it's a representative of some of their bad work. And I feel funny about this because I've always considered this a fairly amusing film.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna laugh.
Yeah, but the reality is that I think that's got mostly to do with the character of Bustoff. Mm-hmm. From a purely thematic standpoint, Bustoff is a really funny character and a good character and a cool character and with a great name.
Yeah.
And the fact that Curly has to end up posing as Bustoff, you know, that
sounds like it's going to be
almost
a riot.
like a classic episode, and has to actually go fight in the ring. And considering Punch Drunks, you would think this would be great stuff.
Right.
But the problem is, this film just kind of stinks.
Yeah.
And I never really noticed how bad it stinks until we, said, okay, we're going to watch these chronologically and rate them critically. Pretty Girls, by the way, also gets a 1 because although there are some women in this, there's no pretty girls in this.
So this is the first film of 1937. Grips, Grunts and Groans is not that good. The last film we watched was the last one from 1936 called Slippery Silks, and it's not that good. So, what are we seeing here? A little bit of a trend? We're in a downturn.
The other problem is that to say that this film is edited badly would be inaccurate. The problem is that it had to be edited so much.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The editing for the time is probably actually pretty good. They probably pieced this together pretty good, but the problem is, why did they have to? What is with all these cuts?
Yeah,
So it's very
close-ups and
distracting.
all this stuff,
It's
yeah.
very distracting, even to someone who doesn't pay attention to this stuff. Subconsciously, you are distracted by all the editing that's going on in this film. However, Grips, Grunts and Groans is not as bad as... Oh, did I mention... Yeah, that was another thing I wanted to mention.
But this is why, I mean, you might think this is silly and boring, but this is why we're doing this, because, we've loved the Stooges for so long that we're really sort of into this, looking at the facts and figures.
Yeah. So, for example, Grips, Grunts and Groans, the writers used the same gimmick or gag or idea as was used in Horse's Collars way back in the 5th episode that the Stooges did, where when Curly experiences something, he goes crazy. In Horse's Collars, it was a mouse. If he sees a mouse, he goes completely bananas. Moe Larry the Cheese, Moe Larry the Cheese. That's a classic line.
Yeah.
In this one, it's wild hyacinth perfume. If Curly smells wild hyacinth perfume, he goes nuts. This, of course, helps him very much win the wrestling match that he gets mixed up in. But the coincidence is that these kinds of ideas are classic Curly stuff, and yet both of these episodes are really pretty bad. Yeah. That's the funny part to me.
Now, do you think that they're writing this in there to heighten the episode? Because it doesn't really work.
I don't know. All I know is it's a good idea, but in neither episode does it in neither film does it work. In fact, funny enough, in both of these films that use that idea, they are both horribly edited, or horribly edited isn't the right term.
They got
that it needs to be edited at all, or so much that it needed to be over edited in the first place. The reason most Stooge films are edited well, quote unquote, is because they're shot properly in the first place, and so the edits all make sense. You don't even notice them.
Right. I hope we don't see this trend continue, because this is,
well, Grips, Grunts and Groans is not as bad as Horse's Collars, but it is certainly...
as bad as Slippery Silks?
It's worse than Slippery Silks.
Okay, so that's,
Slippery Silks has a lot of fun going on. That was a convoluted review, because the whole film did not really... It wasn't a 1-2 punch hilarious riot, but there's a lot of stuff I really just like about Slippery
You're
Silk.
endeared
I
to the
can't-
Stooges for that stuff.
But there's a lot of funny stuff going on in there, and yet the episode, well, I think it's the plot. I think we mixed that review up totally. We gave the plot a 3, and it really probably deserves a 2, and blah, blah, blah. But we're not going to dwell on these things.
But we will
can't-
continue to talk about this stuff, go back and forth, and
Yeah.
find things like this about because even though Curly does his famous go crazy over something, it doesn't help. Let's put it this way: in these two, it doesn't help. And we're going to see this happen a couple more times.
Yeah,
with the
Curly will go
thing.
crazy. We'll see if
Gag.
those films with that gag go over any better. Anyway,
Anyway, so what we have next is Dizzy Doctors.
yeah, so that wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed this review. Hope we gave you a lot to think about, because we can't stop thinking about how bad this film is. And again, I feel funny about saying that, but I explained why.
So, won't you join us next time on the Three Stooges review for Dizzy Doctors? That's the second film that the Stooges did with Columbia for 1937. We'll see if our little trend continues here.
Yeah, if we're lucky, it'll completely reverse, and Dizzy Doctors will be an absolute riot. Because frankly, I don't remember what that film is
Yeah,
about.
I don't either. But you gotta subscribe, rate, and comment, and you don't want to miss Dizzy Doctors, so come on back.
All right, we'll see you next time on the Three Stooges review.